Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
David sent me a note about some recent activities in New Jersey, and this is fascinating. There's a new law in New Jersey that just went into effect shortly ago in the new year. New Jersey enacts mandatory police licensing law, the law that requires police officers to be licensed to do their jobs. Now, here's the thing. I was under the impression that most states require this, and in fact, most states do have some form of this. But it turns out that only about 40 states have it. There's still 10 or so that do not. And I say 10 or so because I did a little bit of research. I couldn't find a comprehensive list. And it's largely because I think they call it different things in different states. So in Michigan, for instance, they've got the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards that oversees this. But in New Jersey, the organization, the name of what you need to do is called something different. So the new law requires the state's 40,000 or so officers to obtain licenses as a step toward professional standardization. And the Morristown Minute wrote the story and published it, and David sent it. Thank you very much. New Jersey has started a significant reform in law enforcement with the enforcement of this new law called the Police Licensure Act. It mandates all police officers in the state to hold active licenses from the Police Training Commission. Effective since January 1st of this year, this act brings a new dimension to policing standards in New Jersey. The act was signed into law by the governor a couple of years ago to go into effect this year, and it aims to ensure that police officers maintain uniform professional standards and receive ongoing best practices training. New Jersey joins over 40 other states in establishing a licensing system for law enforcement officers. And so there are a couple different elements of this, one of which is simply you must take a test that holds you to a certain standard and pass that test to get licensed. And then every so often after that, you need to retake the test. And there might be like continuing education along the way. The act stipulates that existing officers already serving beyond their probationary period at the start of this year are granted an initial license valid for 1, 2, or 3 years. These durations were randomly assigned to facilitate staggered renewal dates. Following the first renewal cycle, all licenses will be valid for 3 years. Officers must reapply 90 days before their license expires and submit the required documentation. Police chiefs are tasked with certifying the good moral character, standard adherence, training completion, and conduct review for each renewing officer. The licensure system is designed to enforce accountability. Officers who do not meet the required standards could face license suspension or revocation, making it difficult for those with disciplinary records to transfer between departments while avoiding accountability. I wonder about the effectiveness of that concept because we've heard about this before where a police officer gets in trouble in one jurisdiction, resigns, and then pops up 2 jurisdictions over as if nothing ever happened. So the PTC is responsible for officer education and training, had unanimously voted in June of 2020 to create this program. So that's, almost 4 years ago. Moreover, in 2023, the PTC formally adopted the process for granting, renewing, and if necessary, taking action against licenses. So in theory, if you got in trouble and your license got yanked, that would keep you from popping up 2 jurisdictions over. Chief law enforcement officers are required to notify the PTC of any changes in an officer's employment status, criminal charges or convictions, major disciplinary actions, and findings of misconduct such as excessive force, unfitness for duty, or fraudulent conduct. The new regulations also mandate law enforcement agencies to terminate, suspend, or refuse employment to individuals whose license has been denied, revoked, or suspended. The Licensure Act is part of a series of measures implemented to enhance law enforcement professionalism in New Jersey. These include a directive for law enforcement agencies to annually report various types of conduct leading to disciplinary action, a policy to improve access to internal affair records, the expansion of the ARRIVE program, addressing behavioral health crises, and guidelines to make policing more accessible for women, ensuring the rights of pregnant and breastfeeding officers along the way. With the implementation of the Police Licensure Act, New Jersey takes a significant step toward standardizing and enhancing the professional qualifications and accountability of its law enforcement officers. Now, this is the kind of thing where, as an experiment, you'd have to watch this for a couple of years and see what happens. Do you get police officers who get disciplined and then get ousted from the force permanently? Or is it still possible for them to do the old whack-a-mole thing and disappear here and pop up over here? Is that possible? But, they say that there's more than 40 states doing this, and yet we hear about more problems than ever, and it doesn't seem to be confined to a handful of states, so I'm not quite sure how that works. But I've watched a lot of videos on YouTube, like I said, and those, of course, are skewed very badly because if someone shoots a video and nothing happens, they don't post it. So when they post something that did happen, you go, oh, this is what happens every time someone turns a camera on and points it at a police officer. No. This is where somebody pointed at a police officer and got something interesting on camera and posted it on YouTube. But I've seen some police officers who appeared to not know what they were doing. Now, I've seen a lot of police officers who did, okay? So I'm just pointing that out. But the real point is that how hard is it to become a police officer? And I know that in some places, there's different ways you can do it. And I've heard of people going to community college and studying, criminal law, and then going that route and going to some academy and becoming a police officer. Of course, become a state trooper. You go to the state academy and become a trooper. And so I know that there are different standards and different ways that you can become a police officer. But by definition, that means that these people are getting different educations depending on where they go. Now, there might be standardization in the sense that they need so many hours of classroom training on this, so many hours on this, so many hours on this. But then the question becomes, is the classroom education that you get at the state academy the same as the education you get at a community college? And I don't know. I'm simply asking the questions. And so here, they're saying, look, we assume that the people who are in positions right now of police officers, that they got there by getting the proper training and so on. So we're going to immediately start requiring testing going down the road, and some will have to test right now, some will get to wait a little while, and then eventually 1/3 of the entire state police force is going to have to go through testing on any given year. And part of that testing will be just simply checking the license and checking all of the personnel files and so on to see if the officer, has anything in there that would keep them from maintaining their license in good standing and so on. And so it's a fascinating concept. I can tell you that many states require lawyers to take continuing legal education classes, CLE classes. Not all states do. Michigan does not anymore, but some states do, and Michigan used to. But unfortunately, the classes were actually kind of worthless. I'm being honest. I remember going to these classes and just going like, really? And what they were doing is they were creating classes aimed at the most common things that lawyers got in trouble with, which were quite often not the practice of law type stuff. So you'd wind up listening to a 3-hour lecture on substance abuse because of a lot of attorneys get in trouble for substance abuse. And of course, there are attorneys out there who don't smoke and don't drink. And they're sitting in a room listening to a lecture on substance abuse like they're in 7th grade. And so it's a waste of time. But they're going to force them to go through the licensure steps to make sure they maintain their license. And so it says that there are approximately 40,500 law enforcement officers in New Jersey right now. This affects all of them. And so I will be fascinated to watch 5 years from now, after we've had enough time for all of them to go through the process and a little bit more, because that'll give them time to crunch the numbers, will the statistics bear out that this helped? And that's the real question we have. Will it help? I think it might, but I'm not 100% certain. It just depends on how rigorous they are in enforcing this and how rigorous the rules are in the first place. So thank you, David, for sending it from the Morristown Minute. New Jersey enacts mandatory police licensing law forcing all of the 40,500 officers in New Jersey to obtain licenses and maintain the licenses as a step towards professional standardization. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. I can only explain it to you. I can't understand it for you.